Hey, this is the Will Advice Channel too. What I want to talk about today is the topic of why do so many Asians hate black people. So for this video, I will explain the two main reasons why Asians hate black people from all the knowledge and information I've gathered throughout the years from what I'm aware of in a simple and straightforward way so anyone can understand. So if you're interested in knowing why do so many of them hate us, then watch this video in order to find out. Now that I mention that, let's get started. So when it comes to why do so many Asians hate black people, specifically East Asians, like Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, and so on and so forth, the first main reason why they hate us is because we are a very non-conformist people, okay? We are, as black people, are very, rebellious, okay? And I don't mean, like, rebellious in terms of, like, being criminals and so on and so forth, but we're rebellious in the system, okay? As unlike Asians who have this mentality that I'm going to do exactly what I am told to do, and so on and so forth. If someone tells me to stay right here, I'm going to stay right here. If some principal tells me to do this and do that, even if his ideas and his opinions are stupid, I'm going to do that, or even in workplace, the same thing. And even down to things like eating food, like, okay, I want you to eat this. Black people sometimes look at that shit and go like, oh, I ain't eating nasty ass shit. Asians will actually eat it, So that's an example of what I mean by we are rebellious people. Because the thing about black people in general is that we don't take shit, okay? And even though some of the stuff, of course, is turning gang members negative and not positive, the truth is, overall, we are people who not only speak our mind, we overall stand up for ourselves when we see injustice. Asian people are not like that. Because if you actually research Asian culture, and I'm specifically referring to East Asian, like Chinese, Japanese, Korean, even say Taiwanese, and so on and so forth, their culture is obsessed with doing what you are told to do, no matter what. Even if the rules are stupid and foolish, you are not supposed to question everybody on things, okay? To be quite blunt and honest with you. That's how Asian people think. And they've thought like that going back thousands of years. It's not about who is wrong and who is right. It's about who has power. You know what I mean? And being rebellious in their culture is considered very wrong. It's considered rude. And you do exactly what you are supposed to do. And that's the truth of the matter. When it comes to Asians in general, East Asians specifically, their culture, okay? So when they come across black people, of course, when they move to a place like North America, and so on and so forth, and they're exposed to black people who are rebellious, especially when it comes to all the bullshit that goes on, whether it's school or the workplace, whether it be someone tells you to do something that you don't really want to do, or you have to do some bullshit assignment and you're like, oh my god, why do I have to do all this work when it comes not to show us what we're doing? Things like that, and even just standing up for ourselves when some of our kids are being abused by teachers. Maybe not the worst form of abuse, which obviously is sexual abuse, but we are being abused by teachers, like having teachers feel out of this and that, and doing things in a really disrespectful way. Those are things our people sign up for. Asians are not so much like that, okay? And when they see us, of course, in nations where we actually interact and come into contact with each other, they see us as rebellious. And according to their culture, their way of thinking is that being rebellious is wrong, and you should always respect authority and do exactly what you're told, no matter what. Okay? And even if you look at their culture, going back even a few centuries, or even a century ago, like Japan, which obviously they're East Asian too, they had this mentality that, known as seppuku, that if your master died or just simply disposed of you, and just didn't want anything to do with you, whatever, and even if his belief systems or justification for it was stupid, you still weren't to us in the world, regardless of where you're from, but historically, that is part of East Asian culture. Whether it could be Japan or China or whatever, you are supposed to do what you're supposed to do. And being rebellious and stuff is considered being a shit. Even to this day and age, if you are someone who is especially if you're from a different part of the world, and you go to a workplace, even if the workplace environment is very toxic and shitty, if you actually attack the boss and speak up against him, people will turn on you. I've actually heard stories of people who've been in a place like that, and so on and so forth. Even if your workplace is toxic, people will, who, of course, behind their back, will turn on you if you actually speak up against the bullshit that goes on in the workplace. That's why when you go to places like Japan, say that especially and your views, on the boss or how things are done there, even if it doesn't make any sense, because people will stab you in the back. Because, as I said before, Asian culture is about conformity, and since black people are very rebellious, in other words, not very rebellious, just more like we don't take shit from people. They see us as more of a hindrance than an annoyance, if anything. Their way of thinking is just work hard enough and you'll get exactly what you want, versus just always complaining about everything. So that's one of the first main reasons for what I know about Asian culture and so on and so forth, why they hate us so much. Not all, and I'm not saying the majority, but a good portion of them hate us so passionately. The second reason why someone hates us is that Asian culture is all about status, being at the top, this and that, everything perfect. Everything has to be top-notch, high class, and so on and so forth. But when they come to America, of course, they're way, when you look at how they're like, how they see things based on how the country they are born from, when they actually move to a place like in North America, like Canada, United States and stuff, they see black people in a very degraded state, at least according to them. We live in small houses, at least compared to the rest of the population. We don't have much, so on and so forth, to be honest with you. Those are shit that they see from us, and because they see it from us all the time, they see us in a degraded light, negative light. And they grow to start despising us because of that sort of thing, And that's the way of thinking that a lot of Asian people have. And why so many of them, not saying the majority, but a good portion, specifically the older generation, hate us so much. Because their way of thinking is that these people are losers. Because they're not at a high level of society and so on and so forth. And their way of thinking is that, as well, to add to that, to make it worse, is that I hope my kids do the right thing, because I do not want them to end up like this, of course, N-words, and we're not talking about the one in the A, ending in A, we're talking about the one ending in R, the hard R, to be honest with you. So that's their way of fucking thinking, and that's why they get so angry and hateful when they find out one of our people are dating them, or even, for that matter, in general, even interacting with us in the first place, because they think we're losers somehow. Because Asian culture, even when you read comments for things like South, China posts and stuff, when they talk about other cultures and people, for that matter, obviously specifically like in the Pacific Islanders and other cultures around the world, you will always notice, for that matter, that a lot of them always say the most hateful shit that even white people are like, oh shit, yo, man, this is pretty wild, man. Because their way of thinking is these people are not civilized. They're not willing to work hard, and that's why they're in the state that they're in, and stuff, which of course is extreme oversimplification, but that's their way of thinking. So that is the second reason why Asian people hate us so much. Yes, it is due to cultural differences, but at the same time, some of the stuff that I could definitely be analyzed better and even if you didn't do anything wrong, if you are poor or in a poor state for that matter, okay? And that is the truth about Asians specifically, aside from Europeans, is that a lot of them are very, very shallow, okay? And when you look at how much some of them hate us with a passion, is there really a level justification to hate us as passionately as they do, since a lot of black people don't even bother them in the first place? Absolutely, there is no justification. They just hate us because we're considered poor, and this is why we need to go higher, not unless we want to consider deal with this hate consistently. And this is all to say. I'm out. Bye.